Welcome to AV in the Wild, the podcast that dives deep into the heart of the pro AV industry, out in the field, on the move, and in the moment.
Hi everybody, and welcome back to another episode of AV in the Wild, and this time we are in the beautiful Midwich on air booth at ISE 2026, and Neil and I are joined by Monique Rezai, who is the CRO for Midwich US. Welcome, Monique.
Thank you for having me today, guys.
Neil,
Hi.
you've known Monique previously.
Yeah,
so.
we worked at Polycom for
yeah.
many years, and that company's gone through a whole bunch of transitions, as has the whole industry, I guess.
Yeah.
What changes have you seen through the industry through the years that you're looked at?
Yeah, I mean, it's changed dramatically, right? Even the first days when starting at Polycom, there was still physical hardware that had to go in for making calls, right? There was no cloud services. There were not 20 different OEMs competing in the same space. It was Polycom and Cisco at the time, right? And so you've seen a lot of change over the last 10, 15 years, not just in the hardware, but as we get into AI and other things, just who and how we talk about it, and the connected workplace. It's a different story. It's a different journey. Right?
We'll definitely touch on AI and how you distribute AI, because I guess that's going to be an interesting model and change. But I guess the role of a distributor has really changed for this year, because as you say, in the olden days it used to be shifting. Box shifter was the term. It's a horrible term for distribution, and then again you try to add value through that. Yeah. But again, I think moving from that to the world we are, that kind of model, and the landscape has changed more recently around a lot of consolidation going on in the distribution space.
A ton. I think even the industry in general is going through a lot of consolidation. I think we saw that even prior to the pandemic. Even at the beginning of the pandemic, you saw the AVI SPL and Whitlock acquisition, SKC, and then from there it just kind of grew. I think this year is probably going to be one of the biggest years when it comes to M&A activity.
Okay.
In general, right? Like if you see what the GPA is doing, Yorktel and Kinley.
Yes.
How many partners have they merged and acquired this year with, right? And
CTI,
and I think we're going to see that even more.
Isn't it CTI merged with someone in the UK?
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
But let's bring it home. So.
Yeah.
Midwich has grown through acquisition, and now you find yourself heading up Midwich US. The CRO you're in a really key, pivotal position now to influence how that part of the business grows from UK, DIS origins, or now as a global entity. Talk us through a little bit of your journey and how you find yourself in that role, and what was it that made you say yes to that job offer?
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful question, because I think this is one move that surprised a lot of people.
It did, yeah.
But really the biggest driving force was having a global footprint, a global muscle, a global engine behind what we want to do. Because as you know, Midwich globally is the biggest UC and AV distributor with the biggest footprint, and North America is a growth opportunity. Right. So 5 years ago, Midwich acquired Starin in the U.S., acquired SFM in Canada out of Montreal, and it's the biggest growth opportunity for Midwich as well. Right. If you look at the share of wallet we have in North America and the opportunity to grow, it's immense. And so we're really excited about where we can take this business and the services and the software and the opportunity we can bring to our customers, to then give them more opportunities and solutions for their customers, right? It's going to be a fun journey and a fun ride.
And you've got a great team.
Great team, and that is core. I am very fortunate that I walked into an environment where the team is incredibly strong. They're primed for acceleration, and it's time to give them the right tools, the right resources, everything that they need to be successful. And in fact, 2 weeks ago we had an Amplify event, is what we call it, but we turned it into a mini sales kickoff at the same time. And so we came in with a list of priorities and presented to the team and gave them a lot of clarity and direction of where we want to go, the 5 priorities of how we're going to get there, and really got them bought into the messaging and not only from the North America perspective, but from a global perspective. I wanted them to understand, like I said earlier, the engine behind them. Even though we might be small in North America, the upside's huge and the backing is even stronger. And I wanted to make sure that we had that messaging and that buy-in from the teams as we come into the new year.
And you're a significant contributor to that space, you know, and the team understanding that is key to all of that. That's great.
Yeah. So.
In the UK, you've got sort of specialist areas, so you've obviously got Midwich and you've got Holden. I mean, how do you kind of differentiate between being the generalist of, I guess, maybe like Starry, and then certainly in certain regions where you have these actual specialisations, so that Holden in the broadcast space, your Midwich doing the UC space, and then obviously like headsets and telephony. I mean, are you breaking it down and keeping those entities rather than bringing them under one single umbrella?
So I think ultimately everything will be under the Midwich umbrella. But, you know, even to your earlier question about M&A activity, Midwich has built an entire global footprint on M&A activity, right? But one thing that Midwich has been really good at is finding the right resources where, but then letting them keep their uniqueness locally, right?
Yeah.
There are different nuances to the market, there are different needs, there are different strengths. Some of them were stronger in broadcast. Starin was much stronger in the UC business, and that's something that we're going to double down on this year as well. SFM in Canada was strong in integrated room audio with, you know, Shure and QSYS and brands like that. And so, you know, we want to be the go-to AV and UC distributor in North America, and really one that can provide the full AI connected workplace solution from beginning to end, right? And filling all the gaps for the partners in our channel, and giving them guidance on how to sell it, right? It can get confusing, right? You've got the AI connected workplace, and you've got things like places and rooms and Copilot in the room, and you know, at a high level, fundamentally everyone understands it. But when you've got your sellers in the field that have to position it, how does that translate to them, and what's the messaging that they need, and how can they be profitable in this space, and how can they monetize this buzz around AI in the AV industry, right?
You mentioned 5 initiatives that you were working with at your sales guild. Can you kind of elaborate on any of those and what those 5 areas
Or
are?
are they a trade secret?
Yeah, exactly.
Some of them are a little more internal focused,
Okay.
right? And, you know, operationally, and some foundational building things to really help us accelerate in the market. But I think first and foremost, we've been hit with a big charter to grow the North America territory. And so growing our share of wallet is number one for me. And I even said it for our team 2 weeks ago. It's like, I don't think we have our unfair share, not to mention our fair share of wallet yet, right? We've got the biggest brands, the biggest customers in our portfolio, and I want them to get super intentional about where they can go, right? Giving them the tools, like a strong QBR template with wallet share growth quarter by quarter, by brand, et cetera, and having them understand how they fit into the puzzle at that customer and get real creative, right? Creativity drives innovation, innovation drives growth, and we have a big growth charter. So one of those focus areas was really all about share of wallet and being really prescriptive about how we manage that and how we understand that. The second one was around doubling down in the UC business, right? Starin started with Zoom 5 years ago. Yeah. You know, we have a team at Group that leads the cloud software initiatives for us. And so we've built a platform that allows us to now sell licensing, so Zoom licensing, Google licensing, QSYS licensing, and we want to get Teams Rooms licensing on there, but we want to launch that hopefully later this year in North America. We've been piloting it in Europe, but you know, being able to be the go-to distributor where they can get the entire solution is important, and UC is kind of the anchor for that. All the peripherals that come with it, the integrated room audio as well. There's just so much opportunity built around that space, and that's a space that we know well, right? And the third one was more around operational efficiencies and internal things, but then we also really want to double down on inside sales.
Right.
You know, we have a very strong outside field team. We have a very strong inside sales team. Our sweet spot outside of the Big Ten partners is that mid-tier. That's where we can provide the most value. That's where our value is most appreciated and needed. That's where we can provide services around MTR integration and network assessments and programming, provisioning, things that some of those customers can't do in-house that we want to be able to augment. And inside sales is key for that, right? The ones that are managing that inside, that mid-tier partner. And so we've opened a few more recs just this month. We're going to open some more, but inside sales is key, and retaining those customers in that mid-market is the hardest thing to do, right?
And it's about differentiating, isn't it?
Yeah.
It sets you apart. Maybe it hasn't happened yet, but what do you foresee is your greatest challenge, or have there been challenges? So all three of us have had new jobs in the last year, right? So I think there's a natural moment when you're in any role that you think, oh, what have I done? Why did I do it?
Why did I sign up for this?
Because I have to say, it hasn't happened to me yet. I'm expecting it, but it hasn't yet.
Okay.
Maybe it hasn't, but maybe it will.
It hasn't. But one of the biggest reasons why I came here, outside of, having worked at an OEM, having worked at a service provider, having worked at Microsoft, was I've managed distribution for 20 years, never actually worked at a distributor.
Right.
And I really wanted to learn the nuts and bolts of the engine to kind of round out my experience to be a better leader in this space. But challenge-wise, I would say, is primarily around market awareness in North America, right? We've got some big broadliner competitors that have owned the space for many years. We've been there just a few years. And so just getting that awareness out is one of the other priorities, really, is being bold, being strong, showing up strong in the market so people know who we are and know why they need to work with us. And so that's probably the biggest challenge, but also opportunity at the same time, yeah.
Is there a shift? I know we certainly see it where I work, in the move towards like eB2B and online stuff. I mean, Amazon for Business obviously is doing a lot around the go-to-market and the route to market. Are you seeing that as a distributor, more resellers wanting to do more transactional stuff online for repeatable stuff versus, again, the value you're providing with the inside sales that you're putting through? Is there any kind of shift towards technologies like that?
I think the market in general wants it, demands it.
Yeah.
Even if you look at Microsoft and what they're doing with the Teams rooms and trying to get installs down to $1,000 and being able to deploy the express room install, repeatable, right? And it helps the bigger integrators as well too. And I think initially they thought of it as like competition or you can't control, but if they can go from deploying 20,000 rooms to 50,000 rooms in a year, it actually works and it makes sense and it helps them scale in those areas where maybe they had limitations before because of what it would take to install a room. Yeah. We do have e-commerce sites, both in the US and in Canada and globally. You can go online and you can see our presence there. Customers can procure some devices that way. In Canada, we actually have a relationship with Amazon, so we do a lot of fulfillment for them as well. Right. But I do, when it comes to our biggest brands and what they're asking of us as well is, Yealink has phones and Logi has headsets and, there's so many other areas that I think we need to get really even stronger around so we can help sell the whole portfolio to our customers.
Yeah, absolutely. And what about sort of, you're obviously doing a lot of work internally with regards to adding value. What from the outward side, the customers, what are you adding to the resellers? Again, what are you seeing the demand from them, and what are you doing to change the experience for the resellers with regards to the services you're offering?
Yeah, I mean, I think there are service delivery things, there are managed service offerings, and then it's the service that our teams provide to the customers as well.
They can white label those and...
Yeah, and so, I think even on the inside sales piece, it's servicing those customers so we can retain them and grow them and build their trust. That's one piece. But managed services is an area that I'm going to put a lot of emphasis on as we move forward. Okay. We have a strong team. When it comes to, historically, QSIS commissioning, programming, et cetera, network assessments, we have a huge team in the US and Canada that can provide these services, and we sell these services, as well as what we call our plus service offerings. So we've got Protect Plus and Support Plus. Code Plus would be some of that commissioning. And we want to add on things like MTR integration, potentially getting Outlook engineers, different things that we can do to help augment that mid-tier channel and fill the gaps that they have when they're competing with everyone else.
And I guess they can then white label those, and as I say, they can then use that. So the smaller organisations that can't provide that kind of global footprint, that always on and that supportability, they can back that off to you, but then obviously resell that out to the end user.
Exactly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And not to get too political in a very political
Where are you going?
world, but where do you think we are going in terms of tariffs and just that space where, you know, America is seen as being very volatile at the moment, but that's how we're seeing it. It probably doesn't feel like that, maybe, I don't know. But also shortages.
The chip shortages,
shortages,
you know, the volatility of pricing.
Remember that at Crestron and you know, during the beginning of the MTR,
they're still shipping.
Everybody had that. Yeah.
They're still planning to ship in 2027, I think. Aren't they?
No,
Sorry, Crestron. But they are real issues and real concerns. And if you're a small business, why would a small business, or why should a small business have that backing from a distributor who can give them that assurance and have the buying power, the you know, the ability to deliver and keep them going? If they're, you know, it's fine for the big integrators.
Right.
They've got a bit of weight to you know,
to push around,
right? So how can Midwich, especially in the US, is that an advantage, or are you positioning yourself in that way? How is it?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a challenge, right? And in having remit over US and Canada, you also see challenges in between there when it comes to tariffs and things like that. You know, this year in general, I think as an industry it's going to be pretty flat. And so that's why focusing on share of wallet and how we can serve our customers even more in different areas than maybe we have in the past, newer brands, new services, software, etc., is how we will get to growth. But it's not that I don't think the industry is going to grow at the rate this year that we hope to grow internally because of things like that. Yeah, it's going to be a tough year.
Yeah.
For all of us.
Yeah.
I'm looking at you.
Are you looking at me? Okay. Well, I can. We've got a great portfolio. So, I mean, what about bringing other brands together? Because we were talking before we pressed record about, you know, one of the huge values that Midwich has is being able to bring together the whole story. Again, we as manufacturers provide a small component on that. The customer has a requirement. I've got a new office I'm kitting out. I've got a new we're refurbishing, or again they've got maybe an M&A that they need to provide, you know, a new room or a new office space.
And we have no money, but we want the best stuff.
And we want all the best stuff. Clearly, you've got a whole bunch of vendors, and again, you've got the value of putting that all together. Again, what are you doing with regards to bringing multiple vendors together to provide that, you know, 1 + 1 = 3 to the customer as an all-in-one solution?
Yeah, I mean, outside of the solutions that are there already, like we're looking at a lot of, you know, potentially bundling different OEMs
Solution
together.
selling rather than just product selling.
Yes, and we have to, because that's part of the value that we can provide, and the creativity and the flexibility and being able to do those things. But there are unique partnerships in the industry, in the OEM space, that we want to bring together and potentially skew, you know, at distribution and things like that. And so, yeah, it's definitely part of the journey.
And I think one of the exciting things that Midwich introduced, and I might be wrong, but I'm going to say it's 2 years old now, is looking for those new nuggets of you know, entrepreneurship and that initiative. How's that going?
It's been going great, actually. You know,
I'm in love with NetSpeak, but
I mean,
Yeah,
NetSpeak.
really
we've got old
pushing
friends
that.
at NetSpeak,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Sam Kennedy and others. And I remember it was about 1.5 years ago at Infocom, and it was brand new. And he said, "Monique, you have to come see this." And I was like, "What, Chris?" He's like, "You have to come. Like, follow me. You know how Chris's energy is, right?" And I love that we have that thought leadership internally, and that we are looking at the next type of technologies in the industry, whether we can sell them or not.
because I see that as investing in the future.
Yeah, investing in the future of the industry, and some of these products, there's no intent from any of them that we are going to distribute them once we bring them on board. It's an investment in the industry as we move forward. NetSpeak, I think, would be one that we could build into our service offerings. I think it's an incredible solution, and it's something that I'll definitely look into. But it's a great space. Will Fenby leads that team for us. I think there's 7 or 8 businesses right now that he's involved in. And just helping invest and give them what they need to really accelerate their growth and presence in the market.
And that, I mean, I'm speaking personally now. I think it leans into And I talk about, I mean, sustainability is such a, there's a bit of greenwashing going on when people talk about sustainability. But I just think as a word, it's so much broader than that. If we're going to sustain as an industry,
yes,
we've got to have more people who are interested in investing in these people who otherwise couldn't get to market. Or so, yeah, fully, I'm a big fan.
Well, one of the things I love about Midwich compared to any other distributor out there is what you do in the UK around Innovation House. There's no one else I know of that's doing that kind of demonstration piece. Again, bringing the story, because again, lots of people can box shift, lots of people can sell point products. But what I really love about what Midwich is doing is bringing an actual story to the actual partners and the customers. Say the innovation, you've just refurbished it in the UK in Bracknell. Again, I know I'm very obviously I know the UK footprint much better than the Starin footprint. But again, what you've done in Innovation House and the way you take them through that journey, through the big LED, through the UC space, and through the rest of the stuff. Again, it's really differentiating you from those other distributors, and you are setting the bar really high with regards to, again, the experience that partners can bring their customers into that experience and show that kind of story and that journey through the sort of day in the life, and again those presentations that you can provide.
And I would love
studio there.
Oh yeah, I mean, again, it's fantastic. I go gushing on the innovation. I'm sure
I
you've
need
got
to
other
get
good...
there. I need to see it. I've heard amazing things about it. Maybe it's something we can replicate in North America as we grow. But yeah, I think it's all about the experience.
That's 100%.
At the end of the day, it's, yes, there's products, there's services, sales we have to bundle and sell, right, and support. But it's all about the end user experience at the end of the day and how everything works together smoothly. And
it's the giving back. I think for me, I'm coming back to that sort of. I feel like the team at Midwich over the years, and obviously I've been in the industry for 20. Which is strange because I'm only 21.
Same.
Born into the industry.
Yeah.
It's that human element of, I mean, even having this space, right, and being generous enough to share it.
You were the first to kind of do this kind of stuff. I mean,
this is not generating money for Midwich, but it is generating a lot of goodwill because that loyalty and that affinity with the people, and it feels like that those themes are quite consistent, and they've managed to retain that. I think that's one of the hardest things through M&A. If you've got a strong team, is how do you, when you're taking on another business and it's another culture, how do you keep that culture and get everybody on the same bus, feeling that they're part of the same journey?
It's critical.
I guess in your lifetime there are going to be more acquisitions, right? Because how do you feel about?
She's smiling.
I mean, if there are any spoiler alerts, if there's any breaking news, we're happy to break it.
We'll happily break them.
Nothing to share. No, but yeah, I think in general. I mean,
how do you feel? But how do you feel about that? About bringing on a completely different culture if that happens?
Yeah, I think in any big change or big shift, acquisition or a big team change internally in an organization, as the leader of the organization, we have to give clarity and we have to lead with a growth mindset. And I know that sounds cliche and catchy and everyone says it, but it's critical.
It's fundamental. Yeah.
It is fundamental. Yeah. And, making sure they understand why the changes are happening and how they fit into the changes and what it means for them, and getting them bought in so they want to be on that journey with you to grow, right? And that's one thing that is candidly has been kind of a bit of my superpower the last 15 years, is building these teams and building their energy and empowering them. You know what the journey is, you know what our goal is, you know what your piece of that pie is and the strategy, and really just empowering them to go do it. And I learned that, in my MBA schooling, I was like 21. This was, a long time.
A couple of weeks ago.
No, a couple weeks ago.
Year. Yeah.
But we had a leader, a local CEO, come in and speak to us. And the only thing I remember from that 3-hour session was hire really strong people and empower them to do their thing. And it has always worked for me, right? And if you mess up, great. What'd you learn from it? Let's keep going, right? But getting them bought in, getting them to understand how their piece affects the journey and the overall growth is critical.
And it
being
creates
creative.
so much value, right? Because that person then feels valued. they feel that they're being, that their strengths are being played to.
And if I had all the answers, I wouldn't need them,
No.
right? So I need people that are experts in this space and that space, and I need to be able to trust them to own that piece of the puzzle.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
exciting times. We
So
could talk all day.
We could. I
Yeah.
guess to sort of bring it to I mean, we're sitting here at the beginning of 2026. What's your kind of vision into the future as we roll through this year into next year? Again, all of your partners and customers are listening to this. What can they expect? What should they take on? And again, what can you give them as a glimpse for the future?
And we're going to prepare a little test for your staff to
Yeah.
make sure they listen.
they remember the priorities
Yes.
and where we're going.
This is the kind of actions, the takeaways for them. What are you going to give them for the rest of the year?
And I think globally, Midwich, we want to grow, obviously. But in North America, I want them to think of us when it comes to a partner in distribution, because we're not just going to move boxes. We're going to be a partner. We're going to help you drive the story, drive the solution, fill all the gaps that we need to do. And like I said earlier, we want to be the go-to distributor for all AV you see in the connected workplace, right? And I think there are 2 Microsoft individuals in the last year that Midwich has hired, and that brings a lot of validity to the story.
Yeah.
This is where we want to go. This is what we want to do. We want to be your partner, and we're going to show up bigger and better, and we want to make sure that people know where to find us.
Fantastic.
And where will people find you?
Well,
That was
today
seamless.
Today on booth number.
is 3P700,
Well done,
right?
well done, okay.
In the Fira in Barcelona, Spain. But yeah, I mean, we'll be all over this year. I've got a great team that's out in the field, all over the U.S. and Canada, and you'll find us here at ISC, but you'll also find us everywhere you need to go throughout the year.
And are you happy for people to connect with you? Like on LinkedIn?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Please reach out. I would love to have a chat with anyone. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. Monique, thank you ever so much for joining us. And again, some really exciting stuff. Can't wait to see what Midwich has got lined up for the rest of the year. So thank you for joining us. Iffat, thank you. Thank you all for tuning in to this episode of AV in the Wild with our great partner here at Midwich. Loads is coming from us in the upcoming show. So make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, and we will catch you on the next one.
That's a wrap on this episode of AV in the Wild. Big thanks to our guests and to you, our listeners, for joining us on this journey through the AV landscape. If you liked what you heard, don't forget to subscribe, share, leave a review. It helps us keep the conversation going. Catch us next time as we hit the road again with more voices, more stories, and more of what makes AV wild. Until then, stay curious, stay connected, and stay wild.